Hello, New Wave of British Heavy Metal.com here. Today it is the 22nd of January 2022. As usual, before we get into it, if I could ask the favour please, and that's if you would subscribe to the channel, that would be marvellous. I'd appreciate that. Right, today then we're looking at another band way back from the good old original New Wave of British Heavy Metal days. Tok-Io Rose. There is a hyphen between the K and the I there. I'll just call them Tok-Io Rose for the sake of pronunciation. The Tok-Io came into being because the band apparently were asked politely, shall we say, through legal channels to change the name by a band that had a very similar name, but that I suppose it could be a little bit like Spinal Tap and the originals and the new originals and whatnot, so enough about that. But Tok-Io Rose, this version, were from Cardiff in Wales and floated around in the early mid 80s. You know, when the new wave of British heavy metal was everywhere. Right? They worked hard around the local area, building up a following like you know many bands did, and they did take the decision to leave Wales and go to London and perform many gigs there, in the hope of attracting record company attention. As part of those efforts, they self-financed a double A-side single, Bad Girls and Desperate Situation. An offer was made from a small independent label, but the band decided not to accept that and instead keep trying with the hopes of landing a large label, big name label. That didn't happen, and the band sort of like faded away after that, I guess you could say. But now those good people at Obscure NWOBHM Releases have pulled yet another one out of the hat and rediscovered Tok-Io Rose and put their stuff out on CD. As usual with the Obscure NWOBHM Releases, it is a limited edition CD. There's just 600 of them, and there's a dozen tracks on it, which consist of the aforementioned Bad Girls Desperate Situation single, and then some various demos and whatnot. Now that single kicks it off. Fine song, fast, furious, hard hitter, typical of typical NWOBHM, I guess you would describe it. Really does have quite a punch to it. Desperate Situation, a little bit milder, I'd say, but it's no back number all the same. And then the next two tracks that follow on the CD, I'm in Love and Winter's Tale, they're quite nice too. After that, to my ears at least, there's a definite change of style away from that more harder edged, typical new wave of British heavy metal style, into what you could call typical 1980s style melodic rockers, because there is a noticeable introduction and use of more keys to swell out the sound, and in general the introduction of much more melody and hooks and harmonies and whatnot going on. For example, Follow You, Julianne and Doesn't Matter, whilst they do feature some tasty guitar work, and those hooks and harmonies just take the edge off it a little bit for me, and there's a little bit of that bite that's gone missing. Now perhaps it was the band taking a conscious decision to go down that style a bit more commercial, perhaps in the hope of attracting that elusive recording contract from a big name label. If that was the intention, unfortunately it didn't work for them. However, the closer that we've got here, the last of the 12 tracks, Whispered Anticipation, what a monster this is. A simple, very powerful, cutting riff, soaring vocals, the keys are nice and atmospheric in the background there, thumping bass line, and a really tight, cutting, effective solo. The whole song reminds me very much of Uriah Heep around the turn of the 80s with this song, Whispered Anticipation, would have slotted right in on Abominog. It's that good. It really is. Fine song. Standout of the whole 12. Now, whilst it didn't work out for this version of Tok-Io Rose back in the 1980s, it certainly can't have been for the want of trying. And it's always good to rediscover bands from back then, thanks to the efforts and the likes of Obscure NWOBHM Releases, who somehow keep on finding bands from back then that did fly under the NWOBHM radar a little bit, and I hope they keep doing so. As I mentioned, it's just 600 CDs. I got mine directly from the Obscure NWOBHM Releases website, and as I'm recording this, 22nd of January 2022, their website does still show them for sale. Also, the always reliable Sonic Age records as well, showing availability there. I will put links in the description below to both Obscure NWOBHM Releases and Sonic Age records in case you want to go over there and see if you can get one for yourselves. Hope you do. It is worthy of checking out. It really is. So do that if you'd like to. Please subscribe to the channel before you disappear if you haven't already. Would appreciate that. And as always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and take care.